That frog sonic chamber exhaust.
Oh, don't get me started on that, man.
Right.
That was a whole nother thing, man.
I can literally grab a friggin' Hyundai Ioniq 5 or there's so many cars. I don't even need the N. Can't say that this is replacing the Hellcat and your top speed on this friggin' car is whatever it is, 135 miles an hour. No.
That's when I was making, having the most fun, making videos on my channel, was revealing stuff that's coming out that was fun. A Challenger ACR, a new Challenger Demon and stuff. Now it's like, there's nothing really fun that's coming out. So I just hope that we get back to being fun. That's my hope. We're going back to be fun.
All right, check it out, guys. Hey, it's Demonology. You know what we're doing, snatching souls, but this time we're going to electrocute you. So I brought the guys in to talk to myself and Rich Rebuild. Me and Rich got invited to the premiere of the Dodge Daytona EV, and we got a chance to drive it. We got a chance to drive both of them, the Scat Pack and the RT. Now, my good friends, OC Motivator, ButterDaInsider, and TK Garage, I know that they got a lot to say about this particular vehicle, but I want to talk about the good and bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I want to make sure that you guys talk to two people that actually drove the vehicle, and you willing to drill us with whatever question. Rich, he don't have no filter. so it's no telling what Rich is going to say, but man, we going to tell y'all how it TI is. With that said, ask away.
Well, I'll just jump in and just say, look, I appreciate both your videos. Rich, you inspired me to do my video, which was very respectfully calling out that Dodge invited a lot of people, but forgot TK, Butter, and my invitation. And we felt like it was semi-strategic because we had spent the last 2 years incinerating Dodge for a lot of the ridiculously insane actions. So when your video came out, I was sitting there going, after watching so many, even Motor Trend acting like it's the greatest thing. They ended with, I'm just glad it's here. And I threw up all over my shoes.
Yeah.
So when I watched your video and Herman was very, very respectful and professional, I just said, you know what, honestly, you said what we all needed to hear, but you said it in a jovial, comedic way that wasn't disrespectful. It was, but it was true. And I appreciate that. And I think one thing, though, that you said that I think was just such a small part of the video that I wanted so much more clarity on, because we all suspect that these are giant computers now, and these computers are all the same. And the only difference is the software. And as they program the software, they call it a stage kit, where before we would be changing pulleys and exhaust and things like that. Now they're going to put it in the shop. And I noticed there was a bump of $1,600 on the RT for the stage one. And then you asked the guy directly, and I could tell, I don't know if he got the loaded question that you were asking, but I can see it in your face that, so this is just basically software, right? And I was waiting for him to say, well, no, it's a few other things, but he didn't. And I could tell you were going, no, this is what it is. So would you say that from the RT, I mean, sure, there's some maybe suspension differences, but the RT, the Scat Pack and the stage kits for $1,600 on the RT, all it is just freaking software.
It's just software. I think he was very hesitant to say that, but I think when he talked about the differences between the Scat and the RT, he was saying that, hey, listen, but guess what? The Scat has updated brakes and it has more horsepower. In reality, the only differences that make it jump from the 470 range to the 600 range is software. So I asked him and I said, hey, well, wait a minute. Why don't I just slip you $20? You give me the software and I have an RT that I paid 10 grand less for, and I could have 600 horsepower. And he kind of laughed it off and said, but there's brakes, And I want to tell him, I don't want to stop. I just want to go fast.
For $20,000, I'll get a parachute. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And did you have any, I noticed on Out of Specs video, one of their, I think the Scat Pack it was, when they were doing the donuts, it broke. I mean, it flat out broke and they had to switch cars. Did they tell you
Yeah,
these were pre-production models, or were they like?
they did
Yeah.
say they were pre-production models, and I think I mean, yeah, that may have been true. The fit and finish I thought was, up to spec with normal Dodges. But I also think it's very easy to say something's a pre-production model, especially before you give it to someone, because if it breaks, it's a very easy out. I'm not saying they did that, but I mean it does happen pretty often. A pre-production model, it's like, well, wait a minute, why are you putting us in pre-production models? Like these are the ones that people are
Right.
actually be driving on the road. Why are we getting ones that that have issues that you'd otherwise just throw away or give to a driving school?
Yeah,
People
and
should know.
and I guess to Dodge's defense, we did beat the hell out of the cars. We got an opportunity to really drive them hard. Correct, Rich?
This is very true. We did have an opportunity to drive them hard, but when you introduce a performance sedan and knowing people are going to drive them hard, they have to hold up to it. If I'm cutting a check or if I'm financing $75,000 at 29% APR, I better be able to beat on that thing every single day because I've been told by multiple people
Yeah.
that EVs are more reliable and they're more stout and they have less moving parts than gas engines. Why can't I beat it up and have it not fail on me?
How many days was y'all driving these cars and they couldn't last those many days?
Well, we were there for 2 days driving the cars.
Yes, but they had
those,
other influencers come in also.
yes,
that
yeah.
that had drove the car.
I think for a few weeks they've been kind of cycling in and out other influencers driving the same cars, and I think those things were in rotation for about 3 weeks. I want to say was a total event, right? Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah. They were in rotation for 3 weeks. Hey guys, I want to read a statement to you guys and tell me what's your thought on this statement. Dodge Charger Daytona, world's quickest and most powerful muscle car. World's first electronic muscle car.
It's a freaking lie. It's a
Oh,
lie.
boy.
Just because you call something muscle doesn't make it muscle, and
Thank you.
that's my biggest issue with it.
Yeah, it's marketing. I mean, it's marketing 101. I think.
But it's bad. It's bad marketing though, right? It's.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
I can
it
go
is.
get a fucking food stamp Tesla from Hertz and spank the dog shit out of every single model that they have there. And
Well, you'd have to pick up a performance.
it's hot. It's
A
hot
performance.
garbage.
Yeah, the performance Model 3 performance. You'd have to pick that up. But
I don't even need a Model 3. I can literally grab a friggin' Hyundai Ioniq 5 or there's so many cars. I don't even need the N.
No.
Yeah, maybe at the top. That thing sucks. That's the thing with the Charger. You can't say that this is replacing the Hellcat and your top speed on this friggin' car is whatever it is, 135 miles an hour. No, this is trash.
Well, now what's your definition of a muscle car?
Something I can beat the shit out of with horsepower, and if I'm going to run it down the track, like for example, I know that you can run that Demon down the track. I've been there and seen it, done it. You can run that Demon down the track 15 times in a day, and it will still be all right.
Yeah, but we still had some Demons that did break axles, did break diffs. Some wear and tear happens.
But I'm talking about the powertrain itself.
Mm-hmm.
That battery, and I'm sure Rich can speak to that. It's gonna get hot. I don't think it has like the cooling system like you see like BMW has on some of their stuff with their EVs.
So
it's gonna get hot.
I noticed that at the track, they literally told us we can get about 4 laps before it starts getting into thermal issues. They physically said that.
4 laps?
Yeah, they did.
So back to topic. OC Motivator, what's your definition of a muscle car?
Well, here's the deal. What I decided after you read that is I'm going to walk out. When I'm done with this call, my slightly chubby ass is going to walk out in the living room, take off my shirt, and tell my wife that I am a bodybuilder. And TK, feel free to jump in on that, and Butter, because if we can just say things, I guess that's the theme, right? We're just going to say things like, I'm now a bodybuilder. It's now a muscle car.
Okay, but what's your definition of a muscle car?
My definition of muscle car, I steal from Wikipedia, which means it was a affordable, cheap rear-wheel drive V8 car that people could afford to buy and then turn into their own personal vehicle, really customize and put their personality into it. This is not going to be something modifiable. And Rich, thanks for all your hard work with Electrified Garage and everything else and trying to push for people to be able to do that. But these are not cheap. The big problem with, you know why I got into muscle cars? I wasn't into them. I'm willing to admit this now. 6 years ago, I was driving a BMW 740. I wore a suit and tie every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't had anything other than like 12 BMWs, Land Rovers, and all the yuppie cars. One day I accidentally pulled through the parking lot of a Dodge dealership and see a white RT with black stripes. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I had the guy start it up and I fell in love with it. And guess how much it was? $33,000. I bought that damn thing. I took it home. I put some lowering springs on it, and I felt the overwhelming sense of masculinity I had been lacking for like 10 years of my life in these BMWs. I was rolling in this amazing, people gave me thumbs up. I never even knew I existed, right? And by the way, everyone, every color, every race, every religion, didn't freaking matter. I showed up to places and we all loved each other because of that car. In BMW culture, they all equally hated each other. Yep. I loved the culture. And guess what? Anybody could afford it. A $34,000 car, you could be a kid with a 400 FICO score and figure out how to get one of those damn cars and then put some wheels on it and some tune on it and exhaust. Hell, chop the mufflers off for $100 in your garage and you got a muscle car. That's a muscle car. This is not a muscle.
Hey, Butter, what's your definition of a muscle car?
Oh man, like I have a traditional sense of what a muscle car is. So, my dad used to work, not at work, but he used to race the IHRA and stuff. So to me, a traditional muscle car is a V8 rear-wheel drive, oversized car. And because we don't really consider like inline six cars from back in the same era as traditional muscle cars. So I mean, for this particular case, for Dodge to say that this is the world's fastest muscle car, I mean, we just had a Demon 170 on sale this year, and this car is still not on sale yet. So technically, it's not even the world's fastest muscle car because it's not even on sale yet. So currently, right now, the world's fastest muscle car is the Dodge Demon 170, which, hold on, which I got my key sitting right here. There's not a single person on this planet that has a key to a Charger Daytona right now because they're all delayed because they're not working. And you guys seen this firsthand that this was a project that was not really thought out properly. And this whole rush job they did, we all seen it with the reviews, and this is not a muscle car. This should have been like a muscle car's assistant. This should have been like a car that you drove on the weekdays and you left your Demon 170 for the weekend.
Yep. TK, same question to you. What's a muscle car?
Well, let me show you what a muscle car is, Urban, while you're asking. Right? If it don't do this, it ain't a muscle car. Sorry.
If it don't do what? I didn't hear nothing. What did it do? What did it do? We couldn't hear nothing. Would you fire it up and pop it? What?
That's not a muscle car.
No, right? That ain't a muscle car.
The M2's not a muscle car.
Yeah.
But the STSV, that's a muscle car.
Yes.
The thing for me that drives me nuts about this thing of them trying to call this a muscle car is they're trying not to alienate their audience, right?
Mm.
It would be like if Tesla came out and started to run different types of ads to try to get a different type of customer in, right? It's not their customer base. You know what I'm saying? And Dodge doesn't want to lose their customer base that they have now, but they don't have anything that can do that anymore.
To me, have anything. Yeah. To me, a muscle car, because I grew up kind of in that particular era, a muscle car to me was a car with the least amount of, how could I say, luxuries. Like it didn't have electric windows. Hell, some of them didn't even have air conditioning, but it had the biggest, baddest engine that company produced. And it was inexpensive. It was not such an expensive, and you can turn the tires over on it, So to me, that was kind of the muscle car era. But, when I look at the car, Does it look like a 68 Charger to me? Yes, it does. You know, you got to realize I'm a retired police officer, and to me, the Charger that we all know before they changed the, you know, when they came out with, to me, that's like a unit. You know, I don't equate that to like a real Charger, like the shape of like the General Lee 68 Charger. You
Right.
remember Blade, when Blade showed up in his 68 Charger. You know, to me, that's like the epitome of the muscle car. And this car has a lot of those stylings. That's what I wish the original Charger would have came with, or the Charger would have came with, just like when they came back with the Challenger. Y'all don't remember this, but you know, when I was in high school in 1980, you know, my first car was a 70 Dodge Challenger, but they brought a Challenger back, and it was a Mitsubishi Galant. And all the guys in auto mechanics just rubbed it in my face that it was this Mitsubishi Galant when the Challenger was just a muscle car. And it was embarrassing. This car, I don't see that. I see it does have the styling of the 68 Charger. Is it fast? I drove the car, Rich drove the car, 670 horsepower to all the wheels. Man, I have to say the car is pretty fast, you know?
Unless you drive it for longer than 30 minutes and it starts having heat problems. So if you're out here like me in Las Vegas or in Phoenix in the middle of the summer, that car is going to be ass.
Well,
So
I drove
for both
Rich.
of you-
Hey, Rich, how long did it take us to go up in the mountains and come back from the mountains? What was it, like an hour and 30 minutes? Yeah.
Hour and a half,
And I didn't have any heat soak problem, you know, with mine going up and back.
Well,
So-
we weren't also pushing it very hard because there were a lot of cliffs that we could roll off of. I think that here's the problem with it's pretty fast. We're a very difficult audience to talk about that with because all of us have driven cars with north of 1,000 horsepower.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you get into the behind the wheel of it, I think for a person that's never driven a car with any considerable amount of power, I think it's just like, wow, oh my, or a person that's never driven another EV before. Once you get into, I hate to say it, but once you've got behind the wheel of a Model 3 Performance or a Plaid, you won't even, it's almost embarrassing.
And the
power
crazy part is this car costs the same amount of money as both those cars. In the Model 3 Performance is cheaper.
Model 3 Performance is how much now? I think it's in the
54,000.
54. Yep.
That's insane. That's
Yeah.
insane.
And
So
then,
wait,
what the out of spec guy said, the one he reviewed was $86,000 on the window sticker.
Yeah, I think they were like right around $85,000 for the Scat Pack. The deal is that now people say the electric cars, once you drive them off the lot, and I want to say this was like pre-COVID. If y'all remember back then, maybe 2020 or so, once you bought a car and drove it off the lot, it depreciated $30,000 to $40,000 back then. And then when COVID came around, it changed. So to me, it's like we're going back to those pre-COVID days.
It's 50%. It's 50% right now.
Yeah. So right now, you drive the car off the lot and it's 50%. I remember Rich pulled up because I had an argument with him that he was saying I don't know if you remember this, Rich, but you were saying that you can get a Tesla Plaid all day for like 45, and he found like 15 at 42, 2022 Tesla Plaids for 42 with like 35,000 miles on them. And that was shocking to me.
So and then now we're rubbing up against, if that one that you saw that was spec'd out was 85,000, a brand new Plaid is 89,000 right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And a Plaid has, I mean, you think 680 horsepower is impressive. The Plaid has double that.
Yeah, that's
double.
crazy.
It's not even close. It's not even close. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and the Plaid can perform on the streets. I have yet to beat a Plaid on the streets. I won't even race one on the streets, and I have to have a good prep track to beat one at the drag strip.
And it's not even just the racing part, right? That's part of it with Tesla. The biggest thing is the people that are going to buy these Chargers are never leaving whatever city they're in. Rich did a whole video on that with the Rivian. You're not going anywhere. If that thing doesn't have access to the Tesla charging network, that car is dead. You're not going back and forth to LA. You ain't taking it across the country. I mean, if you want to sit somewhere and hope that the charging station that you show up actually works, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
It's not,
But
it's a disaster.
yeah, but tell me this, OC Motivator, do you feel like Dodge was forced to build this car? Because you got to realize Carlos Tavares didn't come in until 2021. And
So
he left 2024.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like that this problem was left or was created by him, and now he's out of there. And Dodge had to do something, because remember, guys, they have to buy credits. They have to get those credits.
And they had an identity
profitable.
crisis. They had an identity crisis because of Carlos, because had they 5 years, when Ford, I had a graph I did on one of my videos showing when all the car makers started to enter the EV market and started to follow Tesla in. And guess who was missing? For 5-6 years, Dodge was missing. Now, we all love that because we don't play that. But had they rolled out just that stupid Hornet or some piece of junk, some Mach-E type ugly, stupid vehicle, they could have called it anything. They could have not been in the same position they were in. So they painted themselves into a corner. I completely agree with that, and I understand it. But what they did here, and under Carlos's leadership, is they went cold turkey, and nothing works when you go cold turkey. It doesn't matter what it is. They went cold turkey and shut off the V8s, and then announced in 2024. And here we are, the day before the end of the year, and these things are barely getting launched to dealerships. This was one of the worst ran launches of a car, at least in my lifetime, I can ever think of. But I will say, and I want to say this because a lot of the comments I even read on some of your guys' videos where I'm willing to say something controversial. I don't believe that these cars needed to necessarily be the fastest things on the road. I don't think my Scat Pack's certainly not the fastest. I get beat by all kinds of crazy crap all day long. But it's a muscle car. It's got the emotion, the feeling, the spirit, and the soul. What they tried to put a soul into it for you to snatch, which is a speaker and a fake exhaust system. So if they weren't going to be the fastest, they needed to figure out a better way to build the soul into the car, and they couldn't do it. So how do you beat that? You price the thing for the masses. You make sure you can sell so many of them so you can bring back the V8s, so you can bring back the fun cars. The problem is they priced it so high and they made it a gimmick. And at this point, my big question for you guys is, yes, it's fast. I expect it's any EV I've ever been in, I've been shocked by. But now compare apples to oranges. But you guys getting to get behind the wheel of those things, having driven cars with just a regular Scat Pack, the feeling you have behind it, I'm just suspecting it has to be different. I mean, certainly it's fast, but take that out of it, because you have a Tesla, Herman.
Yeah.
What about it makes it a muscle car? I mean, certainly doesn't have Tesla technology. I mean,
no. I mean, the Tesla, to me, the Tesla is years ahead of it as far as some of the technologies. But I will tell you this: driving that car, and the least thing that I thought I would not like was what do you call it? The fratzonic sound. How do you say?
Fratzonic chamber.
Yeah. I mean, the fratzonic chamber. The fratzonic chamber had a rumble to it. You could actually feel it. The problem that I had with it was it wasn't loud enough. To me, if you're going to put a speaker on the car, you better rattle my teeth. You better have an obnoxiously loud button than what that sucker, boom, 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 boom. When I fire that thing up, it better rattle. And this is what I did, man. I put it in drag mode because drag mode gave me the best sound. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Rich? As a matter of fact, on the video, Rich, I pulled up to you. You was talking to some of the engineers, and all y'all heads turned around and tapped because it was in drag.
It was very loud.
It was very loud. And I wish I could make it louder. And this is the thing I did. I would pull up next to people on the street, roll my window down, and say, "What do you think about my new car?" And everybody said the same thing. It sounds damn good. So the thing with the sound is that I loved it. What I did not like about the sound is that, you know how you driving along and you push your car in neutral and rev it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw
You
that in the
could
video.
not
couldn't
push
do
it in neutral and rev it unless it was at a standstill. The car had to be at a standstill. It had to either had to be in neutral or park for you to rev it. I just feel like the sound should have been even louder. I just feel like you should have had an obnoxiously loud button, because people don't care about sound ordinances, just like they don't care about speed limits. If
I mean, hell,
if you break the speed
California,
limit, you get a ticket. You know.
Unless you're in California, then they're going to state ref you.
Yeah,
because your Dodge
but I
Charger
think you
EV
can have a
is
button that can control that. You
I
know,
might
I
buy
mean,
one
they
just
should
to
make
see.
that power boost button.
I
that.
might buy one, put a 1,000-watt amp on it just so I can get state ref in one of those things. That'd be the best video ever.
That's going to come direct connection. A frost on chamber is also stage 2. When
Yeah.
you get bigger subwoofers and a bigger amplifier.
hey man, the other thing that I didn't like was that, to me, if the car is an electric car, you should be able to pick that sound on whatever mode it's in. I don't care what mode. I mean, it's just a sound, right? Who cares if it's in eco mode? I should be able to have that hot rod sound while I'm in eco mode. And I think that's something that they can fix in the, what do you call it, Rich? In the software later on. Yeah, that's
So
something
you
they could.
couldn't change the sounds of the frost on chamber exhaust. You couldn't make different sounds, because isn't that something you can do on Tesla where you can change the sound of your horn? And
No,
all that
I
stuff?
mean, you could. They had different sounds equated to different modes. But to me, the best
No,
sound
only
that
in the
got the
mode.
most reaction out of was the drag sound. And when you turned it off, it sounded like a race car shutting off, but then it sounded like the damn Starship Enterprise shutting down. It sounded like a spaceship shutting off.
So you know how in our challengers now, where you can go into the SRT settings, you can change the paddles, you can change the transmission settings. So you tell me they don't have a setting in there where you can change the exhaust setting?
No, not at this time. At least not on the cars that me and Rich drove. Okay. But this is the thing, though, guys. I mean, my wife drives a Tesla right now. We had 2 of them. We just sold one. We put 96,000 miles on it. Zero maintenance issues. Went through 4 sets of tires because I was too lazy to have the tires rotated. This is the thing. Every other week, the car would have an update. We would come out and say, hey, it's an update on the car. You press the button, it updated at night, or you can update it right there. So this is something Dodge can do. They can update these little things in this car, you know. So I think that that's.
I trust them to do that, though. I said, I don't know if I trust Dodge to do that, though. That they're not Tesla. Like, the software issues they've had already, like I don't know if you guys saw the Throttle House review, and I want to ask you and Rich that question as well. Did you notice the car was faster in auto mode than it was in track mode?
So when we drove the car around the track, that was one thing in the video I didn't really talk about, but unfortunately on the track, coming out of the corners, the car did not have the explosive power that most EVs should have. It was actually slower coming out of the corners when the straights. So they explained to me, well, you have to have it in a very specific custom mode in order to extract as much power as possible. So on the next lap, I did that, and it must have been like maybe 5 to 6% better. I think one of the problems with these cars when it comes to updates is, as we were saying earlier, Dodge is super late to the party, and I question their ability to roll out software updates to their a brand new enterprise electric vehicle, because I've seen what Dodge does with software updates, and I don't think they're really there just yet. So for an example about Chevy, when Chevy came out with their Chevy Bolt, for example, right? No one really cared about that car that much, but it did have a slight following. That thing was setting every parking garage on fire in every single state. You remember this, right? It was a huge issue. It was setting every single... Matter of fact, it got so bad, you Google this. They said, please do not park your Chevy Bolt in this parking garage. We will turn you away.
But the Pacifica too.
Yeah, because it was really catching fire. But here's the deal. Chevy went through that mess for years, finally got a better battery tech. They finally learned from their mistakes, and they were able to release the Silverado EV, which is probably the best.
Oh gosh, amazing,
right
amazing truck.
It's I mean, they're actually able to release certain things. So now Dodge came to the party, I don't know, 6 years late. They have
Yep.
no EVs except for, I think you could loosely say the Fiat 500e, because it's the same company. No one cares about those either. They
Yep.
came late to the party, and I said it in the video. They came out in a car in 2024 with 2018 technology with 2035 pricing.
I love that. I fell out of my chair laughing when you said that on the video.
So they did so they missed the mark. So this car is really difficult because we don't know how it's going to get updated via software. And the problem I have with this car is I like looking at a car, driving it, getting an impression, enjoying it, and making the decision to purchase it right then and there.
Yeah.
I hate if there's one thing I hate, it's relying on something that I might get later or is a possibility to get later, because that thing may never come.
Yeah,
So
impulse buy. We want it now.
I don't care. I want it now. Imagine writing a check for $85,000 in the hopes that someday you might be able to get customizable sounds or have a louder subwoofer for your fake engine sounds. It doesn't work for me. I have to be able to look at this thing objectively and take it as is. I cannot rely on software updates. However, software updates are massively important to an overall car experience, especially when it comes to EVs. You'll notice this. I bought a Fisker Ocean for some reason, and as you know, Fisker went out of business. Tesla has released probably 120 software updates since they came out. Rivian has released another 50 to 75 updates. Updates are what keeps these cars alive. They keep you entertained. They keep bugs from popping up, because essentially these cars are just giant laptops on wheels. So unless Dodge has that figured out, which they have not proven to me over the Dodges I've had in the past, that they could reliably do this, especially when it comes to Uconnect in any vehicle I've owned with Dodge. I don't know if they can reliably do that. So that's one area of concern for me, especially for a car that relies so heavily on updates.
But tell me this, though, guys. Do you blame the current administration that we have, or do you blame Carlos Tavares and the current administration that we have is trying to fix the problems? I mean, if you think about it, Tim Kuniskis, the rock star himself, walked. He freaking walked because he couldn't take enough. And myself, I believe Carlos Tavares is the one that got us into this situation. Dodge has some smart engineers working at Dodge. And well, a lot of those guys walked in and they left too. And I think that when the head is telling you they want it this way, and you saw what it did, and now this current administration has this mess that they're dealing with. But
I don't even blame Tavares as much as I blame John Elkann, because Elkann is the chairman. The buck stops with him. When he saw in the first 3 months, as soon as he saw the downturn, the stock crashing, as soon as the people came back and was like, the software in this car is dog shit, as soon as any of that happened, John could have said, hey, look, we're going to go another route. This ain't working. You know, tender your resignation, or we're going to go back to buying credits, and we're going to get back to making some V8 cars so we can sell. Because even when they were paying these carbon credits, they were insanely, the height of the company, they were insanely profitable paying Tesla for those friggin' credits. They didn't have to change it. It's just Carlos Tavares was such a friggin' retard that he didn't want to pay that money for those credits. And, you know, he's a penny pitcher. He reminds me exactly of the idiot at Nissan, Goshen, who's on the run for the rest of his life.
I mean, you know, Carlos Tavares'
literally no
is
different.
the cost killer.
Yeah, there's literally no different. And what Carlos doesn't understand, Tavares, as a finance guy, he's not an automotive guy. He's a finance guy. You can't manage a car company as a effing banker. It doesn't work. You got to be able to put something out that people want. You can't cut costs on the parts, and that's what they're dealing with now. All of the savings that Carlos Tavares got from getting cheaper part suppliers and everything else is now coming back to bite them in the ass in every recall, as water pumps bust, head gaskets blow on the Hurricane, software goes to shit in the Wagoneers and the Hornets and everything else. That's all tied to Tavares. So yes, that is on him.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also on Elkin for letting it continue to happen as long as he did.
I mean, Rich, me and you, we sat down with a lot of those engineers that designed a lot of stuff on the cars, and those guys were very, very passionate about what they were doing. But in talking to them, to me, it seems like their hands was tied or their hands were cuffed.
Oh, I mean, listen, I covered all this. I say this in videos. If you can't bite the hand that feeds you, that company has, remember, they've been at that company since before this Daytona EV came out. They were passionate about other cars, about
SRT team.
RXs. You know what I mean? SRT. They've been passionate about those things for quite some time now. So it's really difficult to have so much passion in a company, and all of a sudden, when that company comes under new leadership, you kind of have to say, hey, these are the people that pay me. These are the people that pay the bills. If this is the direction the company wants to go in, then you don't really have that much choice. It's almost like, if you live at home, you got to eat your mama's food.
How much, can I ask you guys this? I mean, this is, if you don't have to answer this, and certainly I don't want to get you guys burned out of future events, but I mean, and I know you'll tell the truth. I mean, I kind of can answer for Rich because just watching this video, but I mean, how much pressure? Because we saw all those YouTubers in the room when they were pitching the car to you, that pitch day or whatever, they were pitching it to you guys. How the whole process. I mean, some of us never been to an event like this, and some people told me on my comments, this is how they always do it. Assume that none of us have ever seen anything like this before. How hard was the sell on you guys, and how much pressure? Because so many YouTubers were just slopping this thing up. Did you feel to pander, which you didn't, but how much pressure did you feel from them? Or were they pretty open with trash it if you want? Or, because I mean, this already launched. It's not like they're looking for input from you.
Yeah. I mean, I personally had a hard time going to the event because the event was at the same time as PRI, the performance race industry, which I love going to that event because it's not a lot of spectators there, and it's people that are into racing. I love to race, right? So that event was set for me the same time as PRI. But I love the design of that Daytona because if you remember during the last call, they introduced that design of the car. And my wife was there. And for my wife to look at that car and say, I would rather drive that than my Tesla Model Y or a Tesla Model X. I mean, the Tesla looks like a bar of soap. This car had character to it. And and to make her feel some type of way about a car, I was excited about it. So I canceled all my meetings at PRI and went down. Now, when I go there, yes, Dodge paid for me to go there. They put up the room and so on and so forth. But that's still money to me. I run a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I have to take time off my schedule. I had several major meetings that I had at PRI that I was supposed to do that could have led to other deals for race car parts and sponsorships on my car. And I let that go because I was really excited about going and driving this particular car. Now, when I found that Rich Rebuild name was on the list, it was a no-brainer.
The choice was clear. The choice was very clear.
And then both of you guys certainly are very successful, whether you went to this thing or not. Yeah. So,
I mean, but they didn't push me. But back to your question, OC, they did not push me one way. No one from Dodge said, Herman, make sure you give me a good review. Herman, we're going to put you in there. I was surprised when I got to the hotel. I got to the hotel and they said, Mr. Young, everything is paid for. I said, you don't need to put my credit card on. Oh, no. And then when I opened up the room, if you go back to my live, I was like, man, where at? Man, I called my wife, said, girl, you should have came down here with me. This is beautiful. I never been in a hotel. I thought I was going to stay in a Motel 6. You know what I'm saying? I've never stayed in a hotel that great. And Rich, they had popcorn and peanuts and, I don't drink liquor, but they had liquor and all this stuff that you could drink. And man, it was really nice. I'm from Texas, and we know steaks in Texas. The best steak I ever ate in my life was at that hotel in Arizona, but I ate steak with the engineers of Dodge that designed this car. So I had great conversation with these people. It was something that I would not have missed for the world now knowing what it was, but nobody said, Demonology, we need you to give us a good review. They just said give an honest review. What about you, Rich?
That would be, that would be commercial suicide if they actually started nudging us
Right.
to have specific views on something. But I'll tell you, there's something called social pressure, which it's something that you feel, but it cannot be spoken or mentioned. Or when these people, these very nice people, put on a great event and they fly you out, they pay for your airfare, they pick you up from the airport, they put you in luxury hotels. My friend and I, Joey, we went there. I thought for sure they were going to give us a single room with a bed and we have to, do some weird stuff. Or I sleep in the bathtub. But they gave us individually our own luxury hotel rooms. And I had to look it up. These rooms were north of $1,000.
Oh, yeah, easy. Yeah.
Wow.
No problem.
$1,500 was my room.
So they spent real money. Well, they gave Herman the bigger room. So, so they when they fly you out and they do that and they feed you and they give you these wonderful breakfasts and then they bring you to these dinners and these breakfasts and these events where the engineers, the ones that have designed this car, the ones that have painstakingly designed this car over the last several years, and they're standing next to you this close and they're like, so what'd you guys think? It's the social pressure is real. Because for them to fly you out and do all these nice things, I guess the best way I could explain this is like, I've never done this personally. Well, in my younger years, there are times where I have flown women out to come and see me. Hey, listen, you want to come see your boy Uncle Rich? I'm going to fly you out to where I live and I want you to come visit me, right? I've done this before.
Hey, Rich, is that time of the month when they get there?
So hear me out. When they fly to come see me, we don't discuss anything over the phone. I just simply say, do you want to come see me? Let's have some fun and let's hang out together. Now, when they get there, there is this very awkward moment between the two of us as the evening carries on that goes, hey, what's going to happen for the rest of the evening? Am I staying in my own place or am I staying with you? Now, there's no pressure, but there's the awkward expectation that I would think, since I did fly this individual out, that they would want to stay with me. So what I'm saying is, when they do all these nice things for you, they're never going to say, hey, you know what, you need to give us a good review, but it's definitely implied. They never said anything, but it's the implication of, hey, listen, we did all these things for you. We handpicked you. We flew you out here. We're really hoping that you'd give us a good review, but you could be honest. There are times where I
Right.
think Joey and I were talking to a couple of the engineers, and I really wanted to start pushing. And I felt a little bit of resistance because I think we were talking about the body, Herman.
Yes.
The body of the cars, right? And I said, you know what? There's a difference between a wide body and a wide car.
Right.
This was probably one of the moments where I realized, okay, I really have to watch what I say here, because when we were talking to the designer, I said, you know what? I wish the car was wide body. And he said, you know what? It actually is wide body.
And we had that conversation, Rich, with him. Go ahead.
We did with him. I said, he said, this is physically the widest that this car can be. If this car was any wider, we would have to put the 3 marker lights on the roof like the TRXs, right? And then Herman and I looked at each other, Herman, myself, and Joy looked at each other, and we said, there's a difference between having a wide car and having a wide body. We were looking for a wide body, and what a wide body means is that you'd suck in the waist, you'd leave the car the same width, but you'd suck in the waist. The doors would go in more, and it would give the appearance of a wider stance. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So when we told him that, we kind of went back and forth, and we got a little resistance from him saying, well, but this is the widest it can be. Then I had to stop and realize this man has been working for this company for quite a few years and has spent hundreds and hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours, painstakingly carving this thing from clay, designing it in his books. This man went to school to design cars. I have to understand that this car is already in production. It's sitting in front of my face. And for me to go to him as an inexperienced person when it comes to designing cars and say, you should have made the car like this instead, I have to kind of watch my tone. I have to sit back and watch myself out of respect for this person. You get what I'm saying?
It's said.
One thing with that conversation, OC, was that he listened to everything that me and Rich said about the car, and then he showed me the car in a way that I had never seen the car before. I seen it before, but really didn't recognize it. And once he showed me the car in that way, it all popped up for me. When you look at the car sideways like this, it blends into, and it looks like a narrow body car. But when you walk to the front of the car and you see how it bubbles out and then comes around, and when you go to the back and see how it bubbles out, or you go off the quarter, you can see it has wide hips on it, just like a 68 Charger. I think the thing that was missing, it didn't have a flare on it. The other thing was that the wheels were flush. And the car that we saw, remember when we were at SEMA, Rich, and we saw the car, it had concave wheels. And I asked him about that, and he said they couldn't do the concave wheels because they had to put such big brake calipers on it. And they couldn't make it any wider to put the flares on it, or they would have to put the markers on the car. So
I have two things.
Yeah.
So the difficult part for me is that the best way I could put this professionally as I can is I don't want someone to explain to me why a girl is pretty. If I walk up to a woman and I say, yes, she's the one, or I say, no, she's not the one, and my friend tells me, well, no, wait, hold on, Rich. Don't dismiss her just yet. If you kind of bend down and you turn your head this way and you look up, she might go from a 4 to a 6.
Right.
I don't want someone to explain to me. If I see it, I like it, I'm going to buy it. Number two, I asked him a very interesting question. And Herman, you were there for this too.
I was there.
I asked him, I said, listen, give me your dream build. Let's pretend there was no budget. Let's pretend you could spend as much money on this build as humanly possible. Can you please tell me what that car looks like? And you know what? The same exact car that they did the dream build for was the car they unveiled 2 years ago at SEMA. Herman, do you want to tell me the two differences between the car that was at SEMA and the car that was in production?
Carlos, that's the two differences. No, the difference between the car at SEMA was just like we described. It was beautiful. It was wider. It was wider.
And the roof was lower.
The roof was lower. It was down to the ground.
And those are the two two things you're looking for. So like his dream, we're all on the same page, but then, the people come in and they say, you can't do that, you can't do this, but he's a dreamer just like we are. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, is that you can tell when you don't give people limits to what they want to do. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at it like this. At one time, you used to have to buy the car and then the guys in the hood would mod it. Remember when people would put 20-inch tires on cars and everybody's like, man, you can't put those 20-inch tires. Now what is the dealership doing? They're putting 20-inch tires. Yeah, they put 24s on cars. Right. Yeah. So to me, what Dodge did prior to this, they gave you the car that the hood guy would have already. I mean, when you buy a Hellcat or you buy a Scat Pack from back in the day, it ain't too much you got to do to it, to the body. Am I right, TK? You know,
not at all.
You just get in and
drop
drop
mine outside of me putting the damn sticker package.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too much you have to do to it. That car is like, you can tell those engineers would let loose to do what they wanted to do. This one, to me, just like Rich was saying, from looking at what was 2020, what was that, 2021 when we was at SEMA, Rich?
Yeah, 2021, yeah.
Yeah, 2021, and what we saw and what we see now, I say Carlos Tavares. Somebody had to make those changes, because if I designed that one that was at 2021, that's the one I would want to see into production. Now, with that being said, do I still think it's a good-looking car? I think it is a good-looking car. I don't think, I'm telling you, once you see it up close in person, I don't think it's like, how could I say, the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck, when it first came out, everybody was, the Cybertruck. Now the Cybertruck looks like a piece of crap, because everybody's used to seeing it. To me, this car looks like a 68 Charger, but it's been modernized. I mean, if you put that next to a 68 Charger, you can see it. I mean, it's there. I mean, could it be a little better? Yeah, but I still think it's a good looking car.
I think so. I think I like it too.
I'm talking about seeing it. Yeah. I'm talking about seeing it in person. Who all have seen the car in person? Butter, was you at the?
I've seen it in person.
Okay, so what did you think about seeing it in person?
I love the car, and I get beat up in my comments about this all the time. Oh, it's horrible, it's ugly. Listen, close your eyes. Imagine there's a Hellcat engine in it. All of us, and then you could do anything you want to it. You can spend your weekend putting a freaking oil catch can on it, and then say, "This is my car." I mean. You could put your stickers on the side. You can do your, change your Scat Pack emblems to Hellcat looking emblem. You can up badge. You can do all the stupid things everybody does when they get their cars. This car, it looks beautiful, but like Rich said, it's a wide car. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to wide body a wide car? I mean, at that point, you're creating a whole new set of problems. And with an EV, you get a whole new set of wheel problems as well. So I think that where the muscle car thing goes out the window again is the lack of modifiability, the lack of the weekend of your buddies sitting in the garage doing stuff. My channel was built to the first 30,000 subscribers of me rolling around in my driveway, putting stupid shit on my car. You know what I mean? And
well, EVs, you're not going to put a lot of stuff on
you're
the
buying
EV.
it and you're driving it, which means it's going to come down to, like your wife said, Herman, is I would rather drive that because it looks better than a Tesla, because the whole world's driving around a bar of soap. Absolutely agree 1,000%. It's $80,000. Fuck it, I'll drive a bar of soap. I mean, I think that's where we end up going to.
Yeah. The interior, Rich. Let's talk about the interior. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me say something about the Daytona. Like I've probably been the only person that has not seen it in person. And like Rich says, if you got to explain to me why it looks good, then it doesn't look good. And so it doesn't necessarily look great to me, not having seen it, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense because, I mean, like I said, it doesn't look great on camera to me. It doesn't. Just from seeing all your guys' reaction of how the exhaust sounds and all the gimmicks, and you trying to explain to me how it sounds good in different ways.
And I'm telling you, you got to be there to hear it.
Yeah, but I mean, you might want to compare it to a 68 Charger, but it doesn't have a 68 Charger's emotions to the car. And then,
I don't know. You got to see it up close.
You know what? I could end this debate very quickly. Herman, are you buying one?
No.
Okay, let's get off the call then.
I mean,
I wouldn't buy the car because the car is not fast enough for my taste. I asked my wife, would she still be interested in purchasing that vehicle? Her only reserve for the vehicle, first she asked me how was the interior? And I told her the interior was off the chain. The interior was amazing. You remember they picked us up in those Grand Wagoneers, Rich?
I remember those $120,000 Wagoneers.
Yeah. So those the interior was basically the Wagoneer's interior and the size. There was a lot of room in it. I mean, two big back guys like me and UTK could sit in the back seat comfortably in that car.
That's what I'm talking about.
Rich, the interior had a lot of room in it. And it was good looking interior. Now, I'm not the one to get in the lights and all this kind of stuff, but it was bedazzled looking at all this stuff. Now, was the technology was the technology on par? Huh?
So you're saying if I buy one of these and I come to the next Scary Fast or whatever event, you're saying I can fit a couple of uncomfortably thick black women in the back seat of the car?
Bruh, you be pimping on a whole nother level because you're going to have a lot of booty coming out the back seat of that car.
But I mean, that's part of the problem. I think with the car is it's way too big for a two-door car. They basically took a four-door car and chopped the back two doors off and just made the front doors longer, and it's the exact same size. That's one problem that Dodge has, is that they have vehicles that are way too big that, and that's why the car weighs so much more weight than a Plaid. It's just crazy to think that this Charger Daytona weighs like over 1,000 pounds more than a Plaid and has less power than a Plaid and gets beat by a Model 3.
Yeah, but the thing about it though, Butter, I don't consider this car a Plaid, and I don't consider it a Model 3. And this is the only reason why I say a Model 3 Performance, yeah, it'll beat it. But would I want to ride in the backseat of a Model 3 Performance? Hell to the no. You know,
yeah, but I mean,
would I want to ride in the backseat of the Plaid? No, I would ride in the backseat of this. Now, as far as power, I give that to the Plaid and the Model 3. The Model 3 Performance power to weight ratio, yes. The Banshee, I think that's going to be a different story when that one comes out.
Comes out.
To me, this car feels like, how could I say? It feels like driving the Demon 170 versus a Trackhawk. This car is a Trackhawk. It's not Demon 170 speed.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why the Trackhawk didn't last that long compared to other cars. I mean, yeah, it might have had a Hellcat drivetrain in it, but people.
I mean, it's a heavy car.
Most out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heavy car, but people still like. Rich, what was your thought on the interior of the car?
I thought the interior was nice. It was a very generic interior. I don't think it really screamed Dodge, or it didn't scream retro. When I saw the first iteration of the Challenger in I think it was 2008, that the initial Challenger came out.
Yeah.
I thought they did a really good job paying homage to the original Challenger. I thought they did. They give it a modern spin. I thought it looked great. But I don't know if anything of that interior is reminiscent of the old Daytonas. I know that one of the designers said that, a couple of themes were carried over.
Yeah, I mean, they took the lines and the themes and put them in the side of the doors and stuff like that.
It didn't really seem like that. It almost seemed a little bit. I didn't get that vibe that it was based off of something else. I thought the interior was a nice interior. The back seat was big. The steering wheel was thick and bolstered. I think it was definitely a good interior. Like, saying the positive about the car, interior was nice.
Yeah, I mean, the interior was real nice. The only bad thing that I could say about the interior, I didn't care too much for the way you opened the door on it. They had the push button with the thumb, but you had to reach down below if you wanted to use the manual. The other thing that I didn't realize about the car, like, we all know Christmas just passed. I had to take my wife, do some last minute shopping. I wasn't going in the stores with all that mess. I dropped her off at the door. I drove her Tesla, dropped her off at the door, went and parked, turned on Netflix, this big screen. I got Netflix on with the Tesla sound system, and I was cool watching a movie, waiting on the phone call. So I don't think you could have did that with that car, Rich.
All that for $40,000. All that for $40,000.
Yeah. I don't think you could have did that with that particular car. So I think some of the technology stuff they could get better. Now the Wagoneer has a second screen for it over there, where the passenger side is at. I don't know what you can do with that screen and what you can't do with it. Maybe you can. From my understanding, you can hook a cord up to it and play what's on your phone on that Wagoneer. I didn't do that.
I'm pretty sure with the Wagoneer's side screen that you can do all the Amazon apps on there, because that was one thing they was doing, like the Fire TV stuff on there.
Yeah.
So you can load Netflix and YouTube and stuff on there.
Yeah. Now this car, I didn't see that. Now they did have self-driving on this car, or should I say lane assist that would keep you in the lanes. I didn't use it. Did you use it on your car, Rich? Yeah.
I did not use it. No. I wanted to just jump back for 10 seconds when you brought up the Banshee. And the Banshee is interesting because if the Scat Pack is 80 and change, the Banshee is going to be $100,000+ car.
Yeah.
And what worries me about the Banshee is that car has problems that horsepower will not fix. If you take the Scat and you put another one in front of it and you say, look, it has 1,600 horsepower, is it going to make the car that much better for the $100,000-something it's going to cost? It might not. So I'm worried about mentioning the Banshee because the car can't get any wider. It physically cannot look any different. So is it just going to be another software upgrade that they're going to do to the motors?
You can't get bigger tires.
Or is it going to be 3 motors in it, 4 motors in it? What is it going to be?
And horrible range. They're going to give up range for all that horsepower.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be a trial motor.
it might get 100 miles range.
Yep.
Because if the I think the scat is what, 240.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, the scat pack is 240. The other one is the
Optimal
RT was
conditions.
320.
I think it's right around 300 something range.
Yeah. It was right around 300 something.
So with
And
that with that logic, the Banshee will have 190 miles of range.
Well, I
That's
mean,
big.
it's not that much off from a Hellcat or a Demon, whatever, for a full tank of gas. But the problem is, it's an EV, and you got to make these
The problem is the inconvenience and the charging networks. I mean, that's like right now with our Tesla. If we're out somewhere, and we very seldom use a charging network when we're out, but we tell the car, even though I know where the charging station is, find the charging station near me, and it preheats the battery. So we only have to be there like 15 minutes, and we out.
But the Daytona doesn't have that either. The Daytona also doesn't have route planning and mapping and preconditioning.
Yeah, so the Tesla tells you everything where all the stations are at because they have a charging network. But to me, the way I would use this car, it would have to be in town. I'll just be honest with you. It'd have to be in town. It'd have to be a daily driver, something that I can come home, plug it up, charge it from the house, and then go. You know, my wife's only problem.
$80,000 in town only daily driver.
That's the way I would use it because they don't have a charging network. You know, I mean,
what they need to do is they need to do the same thing that they're doing with the Ram Charger, and they need to scrap this shit that they have now and put the Pentastar in the front of this damn Charger and have it like a Rex, like my BMW i3. Yeah, it's a piece of shit, but you know what? If I got to take that thing to, you know, Kingman, or if I want to go to LA, I can, because I have that option for that gas engine to charge that battery while I'm driving. That's but what do you do,
TK? But what do you do as a company, Rich, TK, Butter, and OC? What do you do as a company when your head of your company has already led you down this path, and you got to put these things out? What do you do?
Jack Welch did at General Electric, and you cut all of the crap that sucked from your former CEO. You know, like there's prime examples of this over time. Jack Welch is a prime example of it. He got rid of it.
You know what they got to do? They got to dig Lee Iacocca up and make a bunch of cheap ass cars with electric motors in them so that they can build whatever the hell they want to build. And that is Dodge. That's how Dodge's always been. What I love is you could go buy a piece of shit Neon, and then a few years later, they got a 700 freaking horsepower car for $60,000. My mind was blown. The stuff you could get back 6 years ago when I got into these cars. They lost their identity. At this point, you walk into that dealership and everything is going to cost you 60, 70, 80. Freaking Hornets are $40,000, $50,000. And it's just, they've lost they forgot who their customers are. I mean, I'm the CEO now. I would dig up Lee Iacocca and freaking clone that man and build a whole bunch of shit with electric motors. Bring back the Neon body, stick an electric engine in it, stick electric motors in it, and sell the daylights out of them for like the
lightweight. That would be the Model 3 killer.
They would have all the carbon credits in the world. They can build anything the hell they want. That's why Ford's. I walk into the Ford dealership. They're like, "You want a Mustang 5.0 GT?" I'm like, "Not really, but how much is it?" Well, 50 grand, we'll give it to you for 46. I'm like, God bless you. This is great.
Yeah. I mean, look at the trucks that Ford has now. You know, when I go to the drag strip, people, they go buy these Ford trucks. They're inexpensive. They purchase them, put twin turbos on them, and, you know, they spend about 45,000, and they're kicking butt.
But Ford also has a program now where they'll put a supercharger on the 5.0 based F-150s, and those things have 10 speeds. Yeah. Have you driven the new? Listen, I'm not that big of a Ford fan. If you've driven one of the new 10-speed Ford,
it's nice.
They didn't come to play games. So I mean, Ford and Chevy have been doing 10 speeds in their cars, where the Hellcat still has 8. Like, what are we like? We're not advancing technology. The it's the same motor and transmission in every car. They're not really advancing when it comes to tech. Whereas Ford and Chevy, you know, they're throwing blowers on these F-150s and destroying everyone. Like, those F-150s are not to be messed with. You don't mess with those F-150s. Even the EcoBoosts were fast.
Even that regular V8 F-150 that you could buy now with that supercharger on it, if you buy it that way, because there's some dealerships that will do the full build on it. Short Cat It's like what, 62,000, 60. It's cheaper than if you wanted to go buy a last call that's still sitting at a dealership right now.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
mean, it's part of the problem with FCA going into Stellantis. They didn't have the priority to update their lineup. They kept the ancient lineup and didn't put none of that money into actually upgrading the transmission, the engines and stuff. Because I mean, for one thing that I was told was that, you know, Dodge and FCA them, they brought those Hurricanes out to replace the 5.7 392 because they needed to get these emission credits in check. Because that's where a majority of their fines are coming from, having the 5.7 392 in all their cars. But, you know, the thing with Carlos Tavares coming in, he basically nixed the idea of having the Hellcat engine still be put in the vehicles because he wanted to save money. He wanted to save cash. And this kind of brought them along this nonsense of pushing EVs as the top of the food chain when your customer base was never even exposed to EVs that you made in the first place. So now that's like the problem they have now is they're trying to push these 3 EVs, the Charger Daytona, the Ram Rev, and then the Wagoneer S, trying to push them down people's throats. Like those are supposed to be what the Wagoneer S is supposed to be a replacement to the Trackhawk. Charger Daytona will be a replacement to like the Hellcat, and then the Ram Rev will be a replacement to the TRX. And you got these 3 vehicles that have all these software issues, and now they're stuck going like, oh crap, like what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do you do? So that's why I don't really blame, you know, the administration about this. This is like a top-down problem that they backed themselves to this corner, and now we're seeing the results of this. We have 3 rush products. Y'all guys drove a rush product because that Charger Daytona should have been sitting in the wings for like another year or two while it's still pushing.
I mean, but how long do you let that sit in the wings? Because we were first introduced to this car in 2021. Am I right, Rich?
Yeah,
to the EVs. I mean, how long are you going? Huh?
Yeah, that's when they did EV Day.
But you all know why it was rushed, right? Everybody knows why it was rushed. If you read the public filings for Carlos Tavares' compensation plan for him to get that $39 million, it was tied to meeting certain electric vehicle timelines. So yes, you're right. He was pushing that thing out to all of us way too early in the beginning of it. The launching of the Banshee at Speed Week was too soon. The lack of clarity about whether it was a concept car, you could still find articles where they were saying that car was going to be a 2023. Like people, because they were so unclear because Tavares wanted to meet those EV timelines so he can get his 40 million. So that's why they're sitting here with no car, because they were trying to ram this thing down our throat. And I just got to say this with the sound, and Herman, you're going to, you know, people are going to say, oh, you defend that sound. And I heard it multiple times, heard it inside and outdoors. And I'm with you. It sounds great. It sounds really good. Even sitting in the car when it was running, I was like, wow, this is really good. It's like me walking into your jujitsu center wearing a black belt and saying, let's go, Herman. I got you. And I talk all kinds of trash, and you're like, I'm going to murder him if we do this. But I talk enough trash. I sound cool, but pretty soon it all falls apart. It's like the guy that walks in wearing the fake Rollie, and you know it's fake. It's ticking like crazy. He's wearing a fake Rolex, and everybody else wearing. Pretty soon you look stupid. It sounds amazing, but it's not real. I drove the Porsche Taycan Turbo S, my wife and I did, and it ripped our faces off. It was insane. And it sounded like the Starship Enterprise when it was taking off. You could flip a switch and it sounded like that. And I wasn't offended by it because it was a sound that seemed like it should come from that car. This is a sound of a Hemi. When somebody comes up and hears that, the first thing you want to do is spit on the ground, take the piece of hay out of their mouth and go, that thing got a Hemi in it. And you're going to say, no, it's a 600-watt amplifier through a chambered exhaust system that's driven by speakers.
They got Hemi speakers.
It falls apart. I think that's where things fall.
You're spot on. I personally think it's kind of.
Hey, Dave, I lost Rich on the screen.
Oh no, I'm good. I just went outside real quick.
Oh, you had to go take a leak? Go ahead.
Pretty much. Anyway, so I think it's for me, for us, I think it's kind of embarrassing. I think when you go to a car show, Herman, you know better than anyone else.
Yeah.
You brought your demon, your race car. Whenever you bring your race car anywhere, there is a crowd of people around it begging you to start it.
Yeah.
Begging you to start it. But Herman, I've been around thousands of cars. You know, to this day, I'm a man of a certain age, and I still get excited when I hear a nice car with a nice exhaust. My head still turns when I hear a pulleyed Hellcat. It still turns, and I have 10 of them at this point. I still turn my head because I just have it in my veins. It's never going to go away. When I show up to an event and everyone is there to bring out your style, and I think about all of these companies that spend millions of dollars and thousands of hours of research in how to tune their exhausts, how to make their cars sound better, how to make them have emotion in terms of internal combustion engine. And I think to myself, there is something that's very heavily associated with sound. With sound, there's emotion. With sound, there's feedback. Everyone wants feedback in some way. You want to hear that when you push that pedal down, there are thousands of moving parts underneath your hood that are, the pistons, the valves, everything's going up and down, and it makes a symphony. There's a symphony of moving parts that therefore makes a sound coming out of the exhaust. And when you try to synthesize that, and it's almost like having an Apple Watch versus a Rolex.
Yeah.
A Rolex is like an EV. Sorry, an Apple Watch EV. It's better than a Rolex in every single measurable way whatsoever. It keeps time better. It's cheaper. It does this. It does that. It tells text. It tells time. However, there's a style and there's a class that comes with a nice classic analog watch or mechanical watch that cannot be reproduced with an Apple Watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Rich. But when you're talking about sound, if you want to get a reaction out of somebody, it better be in your face. I mean, you have guys that do cold starts because the car sounds louder in cold start. What do people do when they first buy a Hellcat or a Scat Pack? Everybody knows they cut the mid mufflers off. Yep. They cut the mid mufflers off because it's going to be in your. Have you ever been where they had like a exhaust sound competition? And the sound is popping and racking and going.
You love it. You love it.
I mean, you love it. Have you ever seen a guy say, "Hey, sit in my car and I'm gonna play a song," and the song is going, and when that sub hit, boom, 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 the whole crowd just go, ah!
Yeah,
to me,
absolutely.
if you're gonna do sound, you have to do sound in that manner. You have to have a button where you can make this thing do with sound that nobody has ever done with sound before. And that's to shake shake your teeth loose with sound. And that's how you go, bam. And that's what the Hellcats were. That's what Dodge was. Dodge was, you can go buy a car that I would say medium range expense that could knock the hell out of a exotic car.
You know what the thing is now? Like when I bought the Green Monster in October of 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I got that manual Dodge. That car was $39,800 built, stepped the way I wanted it, with gold seats, green, brass monkey wheels, the whole nine. It was less than 40 grand, right?
Yeah.
That car went straight to the exhaust shop, $500, cut the mid mufflers out, and that thing was loud as crap. Drove that thing all over the country. Great car. You can't go from that to 85,000 slower, quieter. I don't care if the interior is updated. You're paying twice as much now for the same car in 4 years, or for what they want to consider a similar car. It just doesn't work.
I mean, I think price is going to be the big thing, and something me and Rich talked about. The people will decide. I have to be honest with you. I was riding in one of my friend's truck. It was a F450, and the turning radius, because of the axle on it, we were going to a McDonald's. I said, "You ain't gonna make it through a McDonald's in this dude."
Yep.
He said, "Yes, I will." He turned that front wheel, and we went right through that McDonald's drive-through. So I went and talked to my partner, Greg Wilborn, Third Degree. Man, put me in one of these F450 trucks. Man, they had that thing marked up so high over sticker. I was like, "Are you crazy?" I say, "Put me in a F250 truck." That thing was marked up so high over sticker. I left there. I went to Chevy. I got a friend I played football with in high school. He's a finance director of a Chevy dealership, marked up over sticker. I went to Dodge, $10,000 under sticker. I got in a Dodge 2500 that day, and it'll pull all day. Then I went to go look again because I wanted a dually. Ram 3500, should I say the Ram? I went to the same people. The Ram 3500 was 72,000. Everybody else was 90,000. The Ram 3500 will pull all day, every day.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it shows you that there's actually demand for the Fords and Chevys, whereas Dodge has to discount them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that
that's why they're third place.
That's the thing that they see now, right? Like, especially for Dodge, nobody's buying the Ram. They're down 20-something% because you don't have that V8 option anymore. I'm going to go buy a base model Silverado or a F-150 that I could put a Whipple on for half of what I'm going to pay for an inline-six Hurricane Ram. It makes no sense.
So Rich just said something I gotta stop and point out is, watch, when I bought my Dodge Charger and Challengers, every comment in my section was, it's going to get stolen, it's going to get stolen. So I finally looked it up, and it turned out to be the most stolen car in America.
Yep.
And it keeps being the most stolen car in America. So Rich's video, what got me to click on it was, they finally built a car that no one's going to be stealing. I like that. They solved the problem. At least they solved the problem.
Even the Wagoneers they steal, but they ain't gonna steal this car.
No. Yeah, but why are they stealing them? Because that's the car that people want.
Everybody wants them.
Everybody wants them.
But I don't know if anybody's going to really buy this car, because 6 months from now, when the Charger Daytona and the Wagoneer S is sitting on dealership lots, you're going to see a Charger Daytona, a high spec one for $80-something thousand. And then you're going to see the salesman going to try to justify that car over a Jeep Wagoneer S that has literally the same battery pack, the same electric motors, the same 0 to 60, and that car costs $15,000 cheaper, because you can buy a Wagoneer S for like $71,000. Exact same motors, exact same battery pack, literally exact same size, because they both are built on a cellular platform, but it costs $15,000 cheaper. So it's like, it's going to be a hard sell. That's one problem that Stellantis has. Their dealerships has all the different brands on the same dealership lot. So how someone going to justify buying a Charger Daytona over Wagoneer S with all the same specs and makes the same interior size? It'll be a hard sell.
We're going to lose Rich.
Hey, I actually have to run, guys.
Hey, man. Hey, Rich. The last question I have for you.
Go ahead.
When you get that van running, I need to drive it, brother.
It's listen, it's here waiting for you. It's right here waiting for you.
Hey, I'll make a deal with you. I'll drive your van and I'll let you drive my twin turbo Black Ghost. Hey man, where's Joey at?
Joey's right here.
Joey, man, I've been waiting on that footage, man. Where that footage you supposed to send me, Joey? Joey, I don't appreciate you sneaking that video on me. When I see you, Joey, look right here, Joey, rear naked choke. This where you going. When I see you for sneaking that video on me.
Just put on a fake black belt, you'll be okay.
You put the white wolf on me, Rich. Sneaky.
Guys, this was fun. We got to keep pushing here in the shop. So we'll talk to you guys soon. I got to run, guys.
Thanks, Rich. Take care, my brother. Later, Rich. Peace.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, guys.
Take care.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. What's your final thoughts, TK, on what we talked about today, my brother?
I mean, I think it's honest. Look, I already know that Matt and some of the other people at Dodge think I'm just a hater on the EV stuff, and I'm not. I have a BMW i4, which is electric. I have a BMW i3. I've owned the i8. I'm not a hater. I've had Teslas. I don't hate the EV stuff. It just has to be done the right way, right? Mm-hmm. And they sell that, if they're selling that car for $35,000 or $25,000, $35,000, the Charger EV, it'll sell. $85,000, it ain't selling. It's going to be like the Hornet, and it's going to be outside of Mecum auctions and all the different high value, classic car auctions where people can sign up to drive and nobody's going to drive them. They're just going to be parked out front.
The rental car companies are going to take them. The rental car companies is going to take them.
Well, that's the thing. That's going to be who buys them until the rent-a-car companies have cars that go down because they're having software issues and they're no longer making money on those cars. So yeah, Stellantis will get an order like they did the Hornets, but as Avis just found out, you know what? Avis is cutting all their Hornets because they're tired. They all bricked. At some point, they brick, and it's an easy fix. But it's the fact that Avis has to send them somewhere to a dealer and that vehicle's down. They're not making money on it. Rent-a-car companies don't tolerate that crap. So yeah, they'll buy some of these Charger EVs and they'll stick people in them. And the first time they brick, have an issue, have a software problem, boom, they'll cut the fleet.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like Matt is his own man, and Matt is going to do Dodge what Dodge needs to be done. I think Tim is going to do for Ram what Ram needs to be done. So
yeah,
to me, I think they can make Dodge and Ram great again. If you want to look at it that way. OC
I didn't say it, you said it.
Hey man, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm hoping. Talk to me, OC.
I'll just say what I've been saying forever, which is Dodge needs to remember who their customers are. I think one of the biggest mistakes any business can do is put a finance guy in charge. It's like the story about the store that sold soup forever, and it was the best soup ever. Had the biggest lines outside of its building just to get their soup. And then a big giant company or a horrible CEO came in and said, well, hey, look, we can improve our margins by adding 5% more water to the soup. Water it down, we have more soup, less money. And then over time, they're like, look, at the books are getting better. This is great. And then nobody would lose any customers. So they go, we'll do it again. Put another 5% of water in that soup. And then pretty soon you're 50% water and nobody's coming to your store anymore and you're out of business. That's, I think, what these finance guys have done to Dodge is they've tried to whittle it down. But what they decided to do is they kept raising the price on the soup while they started taking away. And that's where they've got an $80,000 car that can't keep up with a $55,000 Tesla. They need to get back to figuring out who their customers are. And their customers are all of us that, like, Butter and TK said, I want a cheap. I don't mind how big the car is. Butter, I know you mentioned big. I would have been mad if it came out as some compact, small, goofy thing. A big, huge, audacious car that we can stuff a motor in and we can make lots of really cool natural sounds, but make it cheap. And if they want to do EVs, make them cheap, because the world needs cheap stuff right now. I think we all know that. And then there's the high-end stuff. That's a much smaller market. And it's how people start off. I was looking at buying my daughter an SXT. Literally, when she was 14, I was like, I'm going to buy her an SXT. They were offering so many rebates. It was like 22 grand. Buy an SXT and sit on it and let her have it when she's 16. Now, I walk in a dealership and they're freaking $40,000. Like they're lost their ever-loving minds for a 23 that's still sitting on the lot. They need to get back to where they make these cars cheap and they get them out to the masses. And then it inspires us. I went from an RT to a Scat Pack within 3 months. And then from a Scat Pack to a Red Eye, back to a bunch of Scat Packs, back to a Hellcat, to a Demon. And now I'm sitting here going, what do I buy? What do I buy? I'm not buying this EV thing for 80 freaking grand. But I'll tell you right now, it was $45,000 compared to a Tesla or $55,000. Hell, maybe it's a nice little commuter car or something. But they're marketing to the wrong people.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this time, OC Motivator, the price is high and the interest rate is high.
That's a problem. You're right.
This, yeah. I mean, it's TDH.
An $80,000 car is like $1,500 a month with minimum down drive offs. It's like, come on, man.
I mean, it's the interest rate and the price, and then you got to get insurance for this car too. Butter, step in, give us it. Tell us, baby.
Yeah. So basically, this whole situation is at the heels of one person who just got fired, Carlos Tavares, because FCA had a clear plan of what they was going to do going forward when they merged with Stellantis. From journalists to even people who inside FCA told me Hurricanes was replaced to 5.7 392, and they're supposed to still keep Hellcats and then roll out EVs to help with the emissions fines. But Carlos Tavares came in, and for everyone to tell me unilaterally from multiple places that he wanted to push his EV nonsense, in part because what OC said that was part of his compensation package for him to make millions of dollars. And so now we see the results of all the cost cutting, the results of this push. I mean, it's led to customers getting alienated. It results to cars that are getting pushed faster than they should have been. We getting to the point to where like now it's like the CEO's now gone. Tim Knissis left. I mean, and Tim Knissis called it out earlier this year when he left. Like Carlos Tavares burnt their boats. There was multiple things that were supposed to be coming that even I talked to high-level people within Dodge. They were excited by coming out, but Carlos Tavares basically burnt the bridge with them, and a lot of them was like, we're fed up and we're leaving because nothing is getting better. And I just hope that now that Carlos Tavares is gone, that a lot of these guys the handcuffs are taken off, and then I hope that, you know, they bring SRT back. I hope that they are able to actually, you know, even if they don't put a Hemi into a car, stop pushing this EV nonsense and drop the prices down, because like I was saying earlier, $85,000 for a scat pack doesn't make sense. $85,000 for a scat pack in the last call years was basically a scat pack that was marked up $20,000, $30,000. And now we're saying that this is the norm. The using the scat pack, the RT names for these EVs was already already got me scratching my brain.
Yeah.
But I mean, this company has to get back to the point to where they got to remember that they are a blue collar company. They sold well because they appealed to a lot of people who had not a lot of money in their pockets. Because just like OC was saying, like you used to be able to get into a car that looked like a Hellcat for $20,000, $30,000 and felt like you was part of a brotherhood. Now it's like to feel like part of a brotherhood, the cheapest one is going to be $60,000 for an RT. And that's just insane. When a year or two ago, the cheapest way to get into the brotherhood was $20,000, $30,000. And now they doubled that. And it's like, what the crap is going on here? So I just hope that now that Carlos Tavares is gone, that now they start slashing prices, because they was all concerned about profit margins. These board of directors, these investors, they all were concerned about profit margins. And they got to get back to the point where they appeal to customers, because without the customers, you don't have any money and you're not going to get any sales. You're not going to have any enthusiasm. So I hope that, because there's one guy's crazy vision of trying to enrich himself with this EV nonsense, that it just turns out better for the rest of us, and then we're able to get back to being fun again. Because that's when I was making, you know, having the most fun, you know, making videos on my channel, was revealing stuff that's coming out that was fun. You know, a Challenger ACR, a new Challenger Demon and stuff. Now it's like, you know, I mean, there's nothing really fun that's coming out. So I just hope that we get back to being fun. That's what I hope. We're going back to be fun. I hope that we're coming back to fun and cheapness.
Well, I just got this in. I can show it to you now. I just had to watermark it. That's the 2026 Ram TRX, currently being tested on the road in Michigan with a Hellcat engine in it. That's interesting. Looks like Tim's already turning things around.
I mean, you know, Tim is a rock star. You know, he gonna come in and make it do what it do. You know,
he better put a Demon 170 engine in that daggone thing and stop playing, because the one thing I love about my Demon 170 is gas is so cheap. I can fill it by $30, $40, and compared to my Z06, that's like $70, $80 compared to $30. I'm like, I prefer to drive my Demon so much more than my Z06 just because of the cost.
Hey guys, hey man, let's get on off of here, man. TKO lady finna go upside his head, man. He done been on here too long. Go on, Chris Kringle, do your thing, man. Hey man, we'll holler at y'all.
Man.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Later.
See you.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and also click the bell. Check out the videos up at the top, and if you get a chance, check out our merch store. Peace.
No, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff.